So what is VBA? VBA stands for Visual Basic for Applications. It is a powerful and versatile programming language that allows us to automate tasks, create custom functions, and interact with various software applications, including Microsoft Office programs like Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. When you run a macro, it is this code that Excel reads to display your actions. VBA is used to write macros, which automate simple and complex tasks in Excel. VBA can be used to analyze a large amount of data, create and maintain complicated financial models. To get started with VBA programming, we need to understand some basic concepts. The first one is called objects. In VBA, everything is considered an object. Except VBA objects are commands or something that applies in a VBA code to perform some specific tasks. VBA itself is an object-oriented programming language, although not a complete object, but it deals with a project. Objects have properties, methods, and events, and there are basically four primary objects that you would be commonly dealing with. They are application objects, workbook objects, worksheet objects, and range objects. This is an example of worksheet object. This VBA code, when you execute it, it is going to create a new worksheet. Don't bother yourself trying to figure out these codes. I'm just using this as an example. In one of the lessons, I covered how to write VBA codes. You will get there. For now, just follow me. Now, this VBA code, what it will do is it will open a new worksheet in the same Excel workbook. So if I execute it, it's going to open a new worksheet for me. Now look at the Excel that I have here. This is a plain Excel workbook and we only have one worksheet here. So when I execute that VBA code, it's going to open a new worksheet for me. And I want that worksheet to have a name called new document. So I'm going to erase this new worksheet. Instead of having it written as new worksheet, I want it to appear as new document. I have written new document. So let's execute the code and see what's going to happen. I will run the code and it has been executed. You can see it's written new document. Let's go back to the Excel worksheet and see for ourselves. Look at it here, new document. Normally it's supposed to show new sheet, but I want it to write new document, and here we have it. You can see our first sheet here, sheet 1, and this is a new document that it opens for us. If I go back to the VBA code and run it again, it's going to open a new document, but it said that name is already taken, try a different one. So I will just have to use a different name, maybe new document 1. Then I will execute it, and that is what will happen. You can see new document 1 here. If I go back to our worksheet, it has new document 1 here. Now it opened a new sheet when I execute that first one, but it has sheet 4. But if I wanted to have a specific name, I will have to edit the VBA code to carry that name that I want. So this you are seeing right here is an example of worksheet objects. Like I said before, Excel VBA objects are commands or something that applies in a VBA code to perform some specific tasks. So the purpose of this object is to create a new worksheet. So this is an example of worksheet objects. The second one is procedures. Procedures are blocks of codes that perform specific tasks. In VBA, there are two main types of procedures, which are sub-procedures and function procedures. Sub-procedures do not return a value, while function procedures return a value. Looking at our VBA codes, to create a sub-procedure, you start with the sub keyword followed by the name. Now, this is what we call sub-procedure. So before you start writing your VBA code, you start with the sub keyword, which is this one. So this is it here, sub, and it always ends with this keyword end sub. So that is how you start and end your code. So when you write the sub, you also follow it by a name. Now the name I gave to this VBA code is open new worksheet. Sub, then the name, and followed by a parenthesis, which is this one we have here. So that is it. Now they have rules on writing the sub. If the procedure performs an action that can be presented with a verb, you can use that verb to name it. House is open new worksheet. You can see it here, open new worksheet. It depends on the function that you want to give it. House is open new worksheet. And number two rules is to make the name of the procedure stand, you should start it in uppercase. If you look at what I did here, it is uppercase, open new worksheet. And the name of the procedure is always followed by parentheses. You can see it here, parentheses is here. And lastly, if the name of a procedure is a combination of words, you should start each word in uppercase. Like you can see the open new worksheet, the O is uppercase, N is uppercase, worksheet, the W there is uppercase. So this is just a practical view of procedure. It starts with the keyword sub and end with the keyword end sub. The section between the sub and the end sub lines is referred to as the body of the procedure. So this is the beginning and this is the end, while the section between the sub and the end sub lines is referred to as the body of the procedure. Number three, we have variables. Variables are used to store and manipulate data within a program. They can hold different types of data such as numbers, text, or dates. Before using a variable, we need to declare its type. For example, in high school, we learned about algebra. Find x plus 2y where x is equals to 1 and y is equals to 3. In this expression, x and y are variables. They can be assigned any numbers. They can also be changed to say 4 and 2 respectively. Variables, in short, are memory locations. As you work with Excel VBA, you will be required to declare variables, just like in algebra classes. Now, this is an example of variables. I have declared the variables as integer, and here I am assigning values to the variables. So I said num1 as integer and num2 as integer, and num1 here is equals to 5 and num2 is equals to 10. And I said calculate the sum, which is num1 plus num2, and I want the answer to be displayed in a message box. So message box will give me the sum of num1 and num2, and if I execute it or I run it, it will be displayed in a message box. You can see it, the sum of 5 and 10 is 15. I can go back and change that figure of 5 and 10 to another number, and I will also get the answer that I want. Let's make it instead of 5, let's say 7, then instead of 10 we can say 15. Then we can run it and see what the result will look like. You can see the sum of 7 and 15 is 22. So this is an example of variables. When you get to the lesson that cover how to write VBA codes, you will get to know more about variables. And lastly, we have control structures. Control structures such as loops and conditional statements allow us to control the flow of our program. They determine how the program executes different sections of code based on specific conditions. It is the combination of keywords in codes used to make a decision that alters the flow of code the computer executes. Now, using control structures, you can write Visual Basic code that makes decisions or that repeats actions. Let's go back to our Visual Basic editor and let me show you an example. This is an example of control structures to tell us numbers that are even or odd. So I will execute it so you can see how it works. Alright, it said enter a number. So let me enter a number, let's just say 7. And if we hit the OK button, it will tell us if 7 is an even or odd number. Okay, 7 is an odd number. You can see that. So this is an example of control structures. We can also execute the button to try another number. So let's say 10. Let's see if 10 is an even or odd number. Alright, 10 is an even number. So that is just it. you can see that you can use VBA to write a lot of applications that do a particular task. So we have used this one to write an application that tells us which number is even or odd. Now, what are the difference between a macro and VBA? Well, VBA is just the programming language that macros are written with. That is just the answer. VBA is just the programming language that macros are written with. So there you have it for this lesson. Macros and VBA can significantly enhance our productivity by automating repetitive tasks and providing the flexibility to customize software applications according to our needs. In the next lesson, we are going to look into how to record a macro, how to run a recorded macro, and assign it to a button or shortcut. See you in the next lesson.